Good evening and welcome to another edition of BC Poly Live, our local look at the past week on the federal election campaign. We're now 20 days out from your vote, and to discuss where we're at, I'd like to welcome back our panel. Our political correspondent here at Czech, Rob Shaw, is with me in studio, and joining us from the Oh Boy Studios in Vancouver, we have Katie Merrifield, the Vice President of Wellington Advocacy, and Mo Amir, host of the podcast This is Van Color. We had a great conversation last week, and we're so glad all of you are back with us to do it again tonight. Let's start with some of the sights and sounds that have followed Trudeau's campaign around recently. Have a listen to this.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
We're never getting vaccinated. Ever.
You got 6 years.
So no more blind bidding.
You had 6 years.
No more foreign wealth being found.
This event will no longer be taking place here today.
This crowd that you're looking at now, they led to the cancellation of a planned campaign stop because of safety reasons in Bolton, Ontario. Trudeau said after he has never seen anger this intense on any campaign ever. All right, let's get the panel in here. Katie, we'll start with you. What sort of influence are these protests having on the campaign?
Yeah, so let's start off by saying, protests are a charter right. They're a way for people to express themselves either for or against government decisions or other powerful institutions. Obviously, protests that are violent and threatening are abhorrent. They're wrong, they're dangerous. It was wrong when these kind of protests were leveled at Ford or Mulroney or Harper, and they're absolutely wrong now. I will say, Trudeau being protested, I think actually gives him something that he's been looking for, which is an opponent. Because now he's effectively campaigning against the protesters, because campaigning against Erin O'Toole's moderate and reasonable brand was not working. And I'm going to be a little bit crass here, but I think 2 points I want to drive home. Number one, Trudeau is not the first politician to face protests, although his team is trying to market it that way. And number two, if you are in charge of tour, particularly at the prime ministerial level, you can organize a tour stop where protesters are not in the shot. So, I think some of the imagery that we've seen over the last week, and I want to say some, not all, I think is kind of useful for the Liberals. It's almost convenient by design.
Rob,
so at the end of the day, I do wonder. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to bring Rob in here. Good points, Katie. But Rob, do you think it's mostly COVID frustration fueling this, or something else? What's behind this?
Yeah, well, when you peel it away, you've got some COVID, some anti-vax, some anti-authority, some anti-government, the tinfoil brigade, the wackos, the weirdos, the people upset about vaping and flavored vape products. The Toronto Star had a story about the organized kind of digital campaign of people dogging the Prime Minister across the country in some cases. It's a lot less, I think, about Trudeau and the Liberals than it is about people being angry and having their kind of their axes to grind. That makes it a political poison pill for other parties to use as ammunition, because if they win, these protesters are going after them as well. And I'll also just say, with Trudeau, it does cause the Liberals to put a little bit of secrecy on some of his events. Where's he going? Don't get the same type of details. And for a guy whose whole advantage is his in-person charisma, putting him in the political equivalent of the witness protection program does not do the Trudeau campaign any favors.
Mo, what about you? How are these protests affecting things?
You never let a good crisis go to waste, do you, Katie? I mean, I think Trudeau is actually finally finding some footing in this election campaign. And he's doing it, as Katie said, by clapping back at the protesters and trying to associate them with the Conservative Party of Canada. Now, I would actually argue that the Conservatives are helping Trudeau make this argument. There were reports that several of the protesters had on Conservative branded T-shirts. We've seen MP Cheryl Gallant come under fire for conspiratorial arguments about climate lockdowns or something. She actually had to scrub her social media because she had a doctored photo of what looked to be Prime Minister Trudeau in a noose. And it wasn't that long ago that Pierre Poilievre himself was kind of peddling this great reset conspiracy as well. So I think that the Conservatives do have a bit of a track record of flirting with this crowd and kind of accommodating them. And I think Trudeau's going to be going after them, and he's going to be attacking the protesters, but using that as a springboard to ultimately attack O'Toole and the Conservative Party.
Before we move on to COVID, Katie, I see you wanting to jump in a little bit here. Do you agree with Mo that the Conservatives are flirting with this crowd a little bit?
I don't disagree with Mo at all that the Liberals are trying to make that connection. I will say that the protesters that were wearing Conservative shirts were immediately dismissed by their local campaigns. And also, Erin O'Toole was the first out of the gate to say that these protests were abhorrent. So appreciate the tactics, don't necessarily agree wholeheartedly.
All right, let's talk about COVID and the role of COVID in this election. It is what people are talking about. Look at the thousands of people who took to the streets all over BC today. Lead story probably in every newscast in this province. Rob, has it taken over the campaign? Is COVID recovery, the need for a COVID plan, what voters want to hear about?
Well, I think it dominates the agenda. More people worry about mask mandate, back to school, vaccine passports than the federal election at this point. It has a practical effect on the campaign as well. One, we don't see big rallies, and for a lot of campaigns, they like cramming a few hundred people in a room, cheering, sign waving. It's in their advertising. It builds momentum. It excites the campaigns. You can't do that. And it removes the authenticity, that face-to-face voter interaction with the leaders, which in the last election, remember the guy in Quebec who told Jagmeet Singh to cut off his turban and he'd be a better Canadian, and the calm and compassionate way he responded said something about him. Remember, I am Linda in the 2017 BC election. So there's pros and cons to face, but it's kind of off the table because of COVID, for good or bad.
Mo, what role is COVID playing in this election?
So I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm not an epidemiologist. However, I do believe that COVID is not OV. And this is despite the fact that I think Team Trudeau and Justin Trudeau himself thought that they could soar to a majority government on the basis of how they handled the pandemic and how they rolled out the vaccine strategy, which did have some hiccups along the way. But instead, I think what they are dealing with is a backlash to calling this snap election far more protracted than even, Premier John Horgan faced when he called an election in October. I think Horgan faced, a couple days of backlash, but I believe people are still talking about it and they're still mad about it. So I actually don't think calling this election during the pandemic has really worked out for Trudeau. And one thing I also want to note, and kind of building on what Rob said, is that Trudeau is in his best element when he has that big crowd. He does look like a magnificent prime ministerial leader. He instills hope. I've been in that crowd in 2015 and 2019, and it's energy. And now we don't have those optics anymore. We don't have those same tactics that he was running on previously, and I think it actually levels out the playing field for the other candidates to kind of compete with him.
I can tell we're getting more comfortable because I can see all of you wanting to jump in. So please do, Rob, get in here.
Well, I was just saying, I thought you were an epidemiologist, Mo, so you can cancel my appointment for next week. We're all good there.
All right, let's move on to some issues. Do you think, Katie, that the number one issue is COVID in this election? And we will get to some other policy points and platforms in a moment, but that question to you.
No, not yet. And I, to a certain extent, agree with what Mo said. Like, look at Saskatchewan, BC, New Brunswick. Like, these are all examples of governments that pulled the trigger during the COVID pandemic, and their incumbency was rewarded. And so I really think that the Liberals wanted this election to be like that. I think they wanted the campaign to be a thank you tour from a grateful public for their superior handling of the pandemic. And as we've seen, that ain't happening. So no, I don't think COVID is the ballot box question yet. I think the issues are going between things like affordability, climate change, healthcare, and economic management. I do think there's time for the Liberals to try and turn this into a referendum on COVID management, but they're kind of stepping on their toes, though. Like, they canceled PHAC briefings. They had too many. They had crowds that violated COVID gathering rules. And what else did they do? They were attacking the Conservatives for having candidates who are unvaccinated when some of theirs were unvaccinated as well. So it's a bit of a mess there. But goes without saying, Joe, like, people don't like hypocrisy.
All right. Since last week, Mo, which policy do you think has hit home with voters? Perhaps a broader question, which party do you think has picked up the most momentum for their policies?
Joe, do you know what the milk crate challenge is?
Yes, I do. I won't be trying it, but I know what it is.
If you don't know what it is, go home and Google it. It's super stupid, but it's actually kind of funny. And I think Prime Minister Trudeau is in his own personal milk crate challenge. I think he set up the crates, and now he's kind of on step 3, and he's a little wobbly because he's losing the narrative on a lot of policy. How can you talk about feminism when you harbor an MP who has multiple sexual misconduct allegations against him from 4 different women over the course of 6 years. And this is on top of the mismanagement of the sexual misconduct scandal in the Canadian military. How do you talk about housing when you have a candidate who's flipped more homes than IHOP has flipped pancakes? How do you talk about the environment when you have, when you've literally bought a pipeline and you're expanding fossil fuel infrastructure? I don't think you can. And I think Canadians are starting to get wise to all of this, all of these mental gymnastics that the Liberals have been playing for many years. And I think that's why the election isn't quite working out the way they wanted it to.
Katie, 30 seconds to you. Who had the best week?
So I'm going to say the Conservatives. I think that Erin O'Toole has done a remarkable job softening the image of the party itself. And while this might not resonate with a bunch of people, like banning puppy mills and ensuring that women fleeing domestic violence can keep their pets, like from a branding perspective, I think that that was a great tactical move on behalf of the Conservatives. Also, it's the right thing to do. And I can't not possibly agree with Mo Moore on the sexual harassment piece. Message to the Liberals, stop saying you believe women and stop calling yourself feminists, because you don't and you're not.
Rob, last point to you. Who had the best week?
Well, when we talk climate, I think it put the Conservatives back a little bit because their climate plan is a little bit less ambitious on its targets. We talked housing. It put the Liberals on the defensive because of Mo said that candidate. Angus Reid called it the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad second week for Justin Trudeau, which I think there's something there to that. But again, I don't get the sense a lot of people are really paying a great deal of attention right now. The debate, the English leaders debate next week, is an eye-opening moment to get introduced to the leaders again, and maybe people start getting ready to mail in their ballots at that point.
All right, we have to take our first break. When we come back, we will shift our focus to what we're calling Battleground BC. You'll hear us say those 2 words often. And 3 ridings our panel is keeping a close eye on. Stay with us. We're back after this.
There's lots going on. I'm Sandra Richardson, and here's your Victoria Foundation Community Check-In.
Abkhazi Garden has a couple of events coming up, including Artists in the Garden September 6th and an open house September 12th. Bring the family for fun at the fair on Labor Day weekend. It'll be a slightly scaled back Saanich fair with a reduced capacity and masks required indoors. The Cowichan Lake Arts and Culture Society presents a fun-filled family day of live entertainment, interactive arts and crafts, and much more September 4th. Celebrate Scottish and Celtic heritage at the Victoria Highland Games September 4th and 5th. This year it'll be a smaller event held at Craigflower Manor. And jump on your bike or grab your running shoes and do the loop. For more information or to register for this fundraiser, visit thresholdhousing.ca.
The Victoria Foundation Community Check-In, your partner in supporting charities on the South Island.
Furniture should never be one size fits all. It should be made just for you. And that's what we do at Max Furniture. Custom, Canadian-made furniture, perfect for your space. Come visit us at our Quadra Street location. It's awesome.
I love my new smart home, especially the automated window coverings, whether it's coffee time or yoga time. I have scenes for every mood and every move. Movie time, bedtime, or away time. It's so easy.
Island Window Coverings has all the latest trends and technology in automated window coverings. Our team of skilled designers will find solutions for your vision and budget. Island Window Coverings. Visit our showroom on Tennyson near Uptown.
Alberni Power and Marine, Vancouver Island's premier boat dealership, is the largest Mercury dealership in Canada. #1 in BC for repowering boats. Award-winning service team. Alberni Power and Marine, dependable quality you can count on.
Welcome back to BC Poly Live. Rob Shaw, Katie Merrifield, and Mo Amir with me as we shift our focus to some key ridings we'll be keeping an eye on election night. Rob, we'll start with you. Last week, you broke down Nanaimo Ladysmith. Tonight, your focus shifts to Saanich-Gulf Islands. And without knocking any peninsula desserts, like you did with the Nanaimo bar last week. Why do you think this is a race to watch?
I got some delicious Nanaimo bars from a Czech viewer as well, so I'm not going to go off about any desserts. But this Saanich-Gulf Islands is Elizabeth May's riding. She's going for her 4th term, and the question is if voters want to change after 10 years, or is the green implosion going to hurt Elizabeth May? It looks like she's got a pretty good chance here. The riding, you know, the Gulf Islands, Saanich, Sydney, North Saanich down across the Saanich Peninsula and over a little bit of just above UVic is the riding. Here you see the candidates. Look, before Elizabeth May, this used to be a conservative riding. Gary Lunn held it for many, many years. That might work in the favor of David Bush. He's already on the defensive, having to apologize for some dumb social media videos. The NDP hoping to pick up disaffected Greens, Sabina Singh there. Both of those people have fought Elizabeth May before, so they're veterans. And then the Liberals, Sherry Moore Arbor. Look, the Liberals did best in 2008 with Bryony Penn, who was an environmental activist. But really, she might have just been the pre-Green vote before Elizabeth May, so it's tough for the Liberals in this riding. Some big topics here, obviously climate change, you have ferries, you have farms, you have a kind of rural and urban, you have development and growth in Sydney, all of which make for a very interesting riding. If Elizabeth May loses this riding, you can bet the federal Greens are done. So this is kind of the last bastion for a party that is in survival mode, I think.
You and I spoke to all the candidates in an interview that will be aired 8:30 next Wednesday, so you can hear from the candidates in that riding. Very quickly, who impressed you the most?
Well, I mean, you know, Elizabeth May has so much history. I think people resonate with that name. She's got a great advantage going in.
Okay, let's cross the pond to where our guests are. Mo, you're watching the seat previously held by Jody Wilson-Raybould. That's in the riding of Vancouver-Granville. Tell us a bit about that race.
I'm glad you brought up Jody Wilson-Raybould because she's actually dropping a book a week before Election Day, and the book is going to detail her experience and her treatment in the Trudeau cabinet. So I do wonder if that is going to have an effect nationally, and particularly in this riding in Vancouver-Granville, because I do think that Jody Wilson-Raybould casts a long shadow even from the outset of this race in Vancouver-Granville. I think people are wondering, you know, where do her voters go? Who do her voters support? And I actually think that this riding is preemptively a national story thanks to Talib Noor Mohammed. He was outed as a serial real estate flipper, and he flipped 21 homes in 17 years. And when I say flipped, it means he bought and sold each one of those individual properties within a year. It's a really bad look for the Liberals in that riding, and it's kind of made national news. Then on the other hand, you have the Conservative candidate, Kaylin Chee, and she's a lawyer who fought pro bono against BC's speculation and vacancy tax, which, by the way, is very popular in BC, especially Vancouver, despite anything that Kevin Falcon says. So I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I actually believe, and I'm betting right now, that the NDP candidate, Anjali Appadure, is going to take this riding. I think she has a lot of support from some of the Jody Wilson-Raybould supporters. I think the NDP have put a lot of resources to making this issue national and giving her a high profile. You can throw it back in my face on election night if I'm wrong, but that's my prediction. The NDP will steal Vancouver-Granville.
If you're wrong, you have to do a milk crate challenge, okay?
Absolutely.
No,
if I'm right,
no.
Rob has to eat a plate of Nanaimo
Nanaimo
bars.
bars.
No, how did I get roped into this?
Please don't do the milk crate challenge. It's a bad idea. Okay, lastly, Katie, tell us about South Surrey White Rock. Why does it have your attention?
Yeah, so this is interesting. It's typically a Conservative seat, but a very popular and well-liked Liberal candidate has held the riding in recent history and is obviously looking to take it over again. This is a riding, it's in the Lower Mainland, it borders the United States, it's also got a great beach, if you haven't checked it out. As I said, traditionally Conservative. However, Gordie Hogue, the Liberal candidate, did hold it for 2 years. And until his by-election, where he did successfully win and hold the riding for 2 years, no Liberal had ever represented any part of that riding since the 1940s, which is super fascinating. However, since 2013, the election outcomes are always close. Diane Watts for the Conservatives won by less than 1,500 votes in 2015. And so this riding is interesting because it calls into question, you know, do people vote for the brand? Do people vote for the leader? Or do they vote for the local candidate? Like Gordie Hogue, the Liberal incumbent, former BC Liberal MLA and minister, totally beloved. I do wonder if he'll be able to take it back.
And if you had to pick a front runner right now, Katie?
I'm going to go with Carrie Lynn. I think she's a very strong incumbent. I think Gordy will put up a good fight. But with the demographics of the riding and Carrie Lynn's incumbency, I think the win is on her side.
All right. I want to thank our panel. If you enjoyed them, they will be back with us same time next week. We're going to be doing this every Wednesday right up until the election, which is now in 20 days. Actually, 20 days right now. We'll be here at the desk counting votes as they come in. 8:20. Yeah, that's right on 20 days, eh, Rob?
So fast.
So fast. All right. When we come back, Jack Knox will be here with his thoughts segment that we call You Don't Know Jack. And as we go to break, here's Mario Canseco from Research Co. with some of the latest polling numbers.
The federal election campaign that appeared to be destined to end in a majority mandate for the Liberal Party has become a tight race. The latest Research Co. survey finds the Liberals and the Conservatives essentially tied, both at the national level and in Ontario. Here in British Columbia, the numbers have also shifted over the last 3 weeks. The Liberals, who had a clear lead, had fallen to third place, with the Conservatives and the New Democrats in a dead heat. The start of the campaign has not been kind to Justin Trudeau, who saw his rating fall at the national level. Satisfaction with Erin O'Toole jumped this month, while Jagmeet Singh continues to have superior numbers on this indicator. In BC, Singh is by far the favorite leader, with more than 3 in 5 residents saying he has done a good job at the helm of the NDP. This is in stark contrast with Green Party leader Annamie Paul, who is endorsed by only 1 in 4 voters. For BC Poly Live, I'm Mario Canseco from Research Co.
Whether building or renovating your home, rely on the Leda Homes proven process, a transparent process that seamlessly integrates their own interior design team with your vision. When every detail of your dream matters, trust Leda Homes.
From growing to creating, from morning to evening, from our farm to your fork. At 10 Acres, farm to table is how we live. 10 Acres Restaurants. Visit us at 10acres.ca.
Enrico Winery is 100% Vancouver Island owned, and we're super proud of that. The grapes that we grow at Enrico Winery are very, very good in this climate. This microclimate that we have here produces some of the best reds and whites in the entire country. The experience at Enrico Winery is not only the great wine, the great people, but it's the opportunity to sit out on the deck and enjoy the music as well. Our wines can be found at all your favorite liquor stores, the best restaurants in Victoria, as well as online. We invite you to experience Enrico Winery and fully understand why we are the taste of Vancouver Island.
Here are your hearing aids, and you also get me. I'm here with you every step of the way.
Really?
Yeah, that's what makes Belltone different.
Wow. Wouldn't it be great if everything came with a partner included?
10 years, bumper to bumper, and I think that's it. You're all set. Who are they? They're the pit crew that comes with the new car. Don't worry, they're here to help.
Nice.
It really would be great if everything included the perfect partner.
Island Belltone locations are here for you. Call today for your free hearing screening.
Sometimes there are no words. It's just being out there, experiencing the West Coast. At Parker Marine, we totally get it. That's why we've been your Yamaha sales and service connection for over 55 years. Bringing you Yamaha outboards, parts, and service to make your West Coast experience awesome. Team Parker Marine, Courtney and Nanaimo. Where does your boat take you?
Sleep isn't always easy. From fluffy toppers to body pillows to customizable mattresses, Rest House has everything you need to ensure the healthiest, most restful, and planet-friendly sleep. We can't stop what wakes you up, but we will help you get to sleep.
With Precision Marble Bath and Shower,
we've been around for years, and Precision Marble Bath and Showers is still here and open for business. Our tub-to-shower conversions are a legendary value. A refit of your old bathroom only takes days. No fuss, no muss. Make a private appointment to visit our Precision Marble showroom. You can see the quality for yourself. Custom manufactured right here in Victoria. That's how we can offer a lifetime warranty. Precision Marble Bath and Showers. We're open, following health protocols, and ready to refit your bathroom.
It's zucchini season.
People are harvesting them from their gardens, and they're everywhere. Your neighbors foist zucchini on you as though they're doing you a favor when really they're just trying to get rid of them. You know the old joke about people locking their car doors at night because if they don't, they'll be full of zucchini in the morning? It's true. Now, election promises are political zucchini. There's so many of them being thrust at us right now that we can't keep up. Can't even get a chance to tell those who are thrusting them at us that we didn't actually ask for zucchini. Among the promises we've heard so far, the Liberals promised to train 1,000 firefighters, put $100 million towards school ventilation improvements, and introduce 10 days of paid sick leave for federally regulated workers. The Conservatives promised to ban puppy mills, bring in an anti-corruption law, and have a Canada-wide GST holiday for retail sales in December. The New Democrats promised to forgive up to $20,000 in student loan debt, end for-profit long-term care homes, and spend $250 million to train 2,000 nurses. The Greens promise universal childcare, free post-secondary education, and universal dental care. And this is just a sampling. Now, I'm not saying these are bad ideas. It's just that with so many of them being scattered about, the parties throwing them out there to see what sticks, it's hard to figure out what this election is all about, other than being a high school popularity contest involving the leaders. I just spent a couple of days poking around asking voters what they care about in this election. Not who they're going to vote for, just what matters to them. And you know what? Almost no one said, promise us more stuff. What they did have on their minds was protecting life as they have known it. They want to be safe from COVID. They worry about climate change. And more they worry about affordability, the cost of food and gas, and above all, housing. That's what they want to hear about, the meat and potatoes. The rest, the distractions and the pie-in-the-sky someday dreams, it's just zucchini.
Thank you, Jack Knox. That zucchini, by the way, was grown in the Knox garden. That is our show for this evening. Don't go anywhere, though. For voters in Nanaimo Ladysmith, we have 30 minutes now of a conversation Rob and I had with the candidates in your riding. That's coming up next. From all of us here at Check, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again same time next week. Good night.